While we try this conversation once again, the credit stress report for the first quarter of 2023 reveals that domestic workers are struggling to find employment since the COVID-19 pandemic, with about 200,000 fewer jobs compared to 2018. It also shows that the middle class and affluent households are under extreme pressure due to the high cost of living and the stubbornly high inflation. The report is compiled by consumer analytics and research company 8020. For more on this, we are now joined once again by United Domestic Workers of South Africa founder and president, Mashiane. Mashiane, thank you so much for joining us once again. Now, as I indicated earlier, but just in the interest of our viewers, in accordance to this report, South Africa usually has around 1 million domestic workers. We currently only have 250,000 that are currently active within the economy. What are some of the challenges that domestic workers are faced with in finding jobs?
Yes, domestic workers are faced with challenges from having their days cut by employers. There are employers who are cutting the working days of domestic workers. For instance, she was working for 5 days a week. Now she's working for 3 days a week, and they cut the salary. There are other employers who are letting go of their domestic workers only to employ the new ones without any service for them. And it's also not very much so that many domestic workers that number actually, because we still have many domestic workers who are not registered. We have domestic workers who are working in townships, which are not registered. They are working under difficult conditions, exploitation, waking up early in the morning and be the last one to sleep in the house, and they are not paid according to the law. So there's still people who are treating domestic workers as slaves. So those are the challenges. But one thing for sure, the sector will always be there because people will always want people to clean their houses. There are employers who don't have time to clean their houses at all. There are employers who need people to take care of their babies. The only thing is that there are those employers who can afford to pay the national minimum wage. There are those even who can afford to pay more than that, but they don't want to. Others don't want to because they don't believe that domestic workers deserve to get better salaries or a living wage.
But Mashiane, the report is currently saying that more middle-class households are opting to free up money by doing more domestic and garden services themselves because of the pressures that I mentioned earlier on that people are experiencing with regards to money that they have. So freeing up that salary are some of the options that they are taking. Are you finding maybe alternative ways for domestic workers to be able to work around such instances?
Yeah, no, it's difficult. It's true that there are employers who are letting go of domestic workers who are saying that they cannot afford to pay them any longer. That's why we are trying to get some organizations that can assist us with skills development programs for domestic workers so that they can be able to make a living for themselves. And we have seen that is needed during the time of COVID, during the time of COVID, that domestic workers need something more than beyond domestic work that they can do when they've lost their jobs. Because it affects them. Others are breadwinners, they are single parents, they are everything to their children. So if they lose their jobs, it's difficult, it's poverty in the family. But there are also domestic workers who are underpaid. They are only working for transport. They wake up in the morning taking buses and trains, going to work just to go to work and come back. They can't afford anything. As you're saying that everything is up. And load shedding as well is also having a bad impact on domestic workers. Some domestic workers are pushed to work extra 2 hours or 4 hours because there was load shedding for 2 hours or for 4 hours. And they are not getting paid for extra hours that they are working for.
Speaking of those hours, Mashiane, from the 1st of March this year, we saw an increase in the minimum hourly rate to now 25 rands and 42 cents, which ranges to around 4,182 rands per month. And you mentioned that there are employers who can afford this and there are others who can't. Where do we draw the line in terms of exploitation where someone says, I cannot afford the 4,000 rands minimum wage, but I can offer you around 2,500 or 3,000 rands? What would you advise a domestic worker to do in such an instance?
If the employer can afford to pay me only 2,000 rands, then the employer must reduce my days so that I can look for alternatives. Maybe I can sell some fruit at home to do something because I cannot work for the whole month or the whole week for that kind of money, for that amount of money. So they have to reduce the days and leave the salary that they want to pay, that they can afford, but they must allow domestic workers to look for alternatives to make a living for themselves, because no one can live on a 2,000 rand.
Most certainly. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have with you this evening. Thank you so much for joining us and giving us some of that insights. That was United Domestic Workers of South Africa founder and President Mashiane speaking to us there about the plight of domestic workers in South Africa.